Okay, so I'm doing two videos in one day since I didn't do last weekend. You can see here um, my dining room table studios are occupied with every book well, not every book, but books I've start with S, and I'm working on researching these books, see if any buried treasures in them. And no doubt you probably saw my last video. I covered. I did a little preview of my free comic book day stack of this year. I will be doing uh, more. I'm doing the review videos, probably covering 8 reviews for the next 5 weeks of these books. And I'll be also be posting on my blog, Purple Pinup Guru, at panacheplaza.com. Um, so I'm doing. I'm going to continue from last week. This is a Vampirella themed week, picking up from last year. I did an issue of Eerie and I did a Vampirella issue, and I'm going to be covering this one here. This one is wow. I mean, I posted this up on my Facebook account, stories and whatever, and I got a lot of responses to this cover. And I mean, even some of my prog rock friends like Pete Taravas from Marillion, and was it Ronnie Stout from Flower Kings, like this cover. So this is issue 19 from, oh, this is before I forget. It's from the collection of Jeff Garlin. And I picked this up from Earth 2 Comics, the week before they closed. And just to remind you, Jeff Garlin is the dude right here. You probably recognize him from Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Goldbergs. So I bought this, and the next one I'll be covering through him. And he was doing a charity auction for Hero Initiative, and I guess he tried auctions off and it didn't go. So we're going to cover this bad boy here. And the cover is from is from a poster that was done by Jose Gonzalez, and the main figure is placed against the backdrop of past Vampirella covers, including the first one, which was done by Frank Frazetta. Little back history of Vampirella. I mean, I just found this out a few days ago. Doing some research, that while I was reading the book, I didn't realize that Trina Robbins was the one who designed her cover. Her costume, rather, and her hairstyle and everything. We lost Trina Robbins last year. Great artist, a nice woman, very nice woman. I've had the pleasure of talking with her and working with her many years ago when I was helping out with Friends of Lulu. And she knows me. Rather, she ran into me in all places in Studio City. Even though she's from San Francisco, she was down here doing a book signing over Barnes and Noble, I guess, and I happened to be trying to get home, trying to catch a bus home to somewhere in Van Nuys, and she just happened to see me on the streets. I know you. Where do I know you from? Well, Trina, what brings you to town? And she told me she was doing a book signing over at Barnes and Noble, and she was out. I believe she was hanging out with Lee Mars too, a DC artist, and some other, I forget who the other person was, but that was she was a nice lady. I really appreciated her. And of course, she Trina Robbins was also very onslaught in the 70s of doing comic books and stuff. I believe she worked on Miss Magazine, I believe, too. But anyway, she designed the costume, and she Archie Goodwin also had hand in her development. Archie Goodwin took me to lunch one time in New York when I was a retailer and I was visiting DC Comics New York headquarters, and him and David Vincent and gee whiz, the artist, who was an artist that invited me over. Nick somebody. Geez, I can't remember. Anyway, as you know, Forrest Ackerman got the ball rolling when he was working with Eerie and on Eerie Magazine and Creepy Magazine and Monsters of Horror Filmland and all that good stuff. And they came up with this idea of another hostess. When Vampirella first started, she was just merely hosting. She was like like Elvira, like an Elvira type of thing. Well, Elvira probably aped it from her, and she was just mainly just someone who introduced stories. But they gave her a big backstory in here, and this one sort of continues the tradition with her and her connection to Dracula, and that's in this story. A Vampirella story where she goes back in time to to encounter Dracula for reasons unknown. I forget what the reason was, but she had to go back in time and via like dark shadows. The stories were reminiscent of Dark Shadows was a big thing back in the late 60s, and this story sort of reflects a Dark Shadows vibe to it. And Jose Gonzalez's work is just breathtaking in here, and it's too bad this story couldn't take place half the magazine, because the rest of are reprints, and I'm gonna have to go and hunt down hard those other issues. But these these backup stories. Look at this Wally Wood story, called "To Kill a God," which is reprinted from the 12th issue in the series of Vampirella, and it was just a feast to behold, an art feast to behold, with his draftsmanship is just unbelievable. And there was a story, a Don Bluth story, 2 Silver Bullets, and and like I said, Don Bluth is still hammering away at these type of stories for the Warrant magazine line, the books of the not the Creeps, Shudder. It was called the Creeps, but they changed the title to Shudder because reasons they probably didn't want to get sued by the estate. But this was a typical Don Bluth yarn, where it's got a little twist of an ending. And what's the next story here? Douglas Monich wrote this story of Fate's Cold Finger, and with art by Ken Barr, who I believe ran on to be a famous cover artist for many Marvel magazines, including Doc Savage. I remember. Oh, this was a amusing story. This was a guy who got rejected by this girl for a rich dude, and he decides to take his own life But he finds out every attempt he tries fails, and the only thing redeeming that she when at the on a date this girl is going on with this rich dude, he just proves to himself to be a bore, entire male chauvinist bore, and she realizes that she made a mistake and she should reconcile with this guy, and when and after these failed suicide attempts, including a hanging and pills and everything, when the girl realizes that I'm gonna give this guy another chance, she calls him up and said, honey, I'm so sorry, I'm wrong. It's you I should be with. And as soon as he runs outside, he gets killed by an icicle. Well, that's if only my love life was as subtle as that. Story about Jack the Ripper Strikes Again by written by Fred Ott, and worked by Jerry Grandinetti. I believe he was an EC artist at the time. I mean, or he was taken from the bullpen, their bullpen when EC Comics went under because of Frederick Wertham's I would Wertham's man, I should just write it. I should write this stuff down. Well, he led this whole big campaign to stamp out comic books and everything, and have them all burned and everything, and then they formed the Comics Code Authority, and and EC Comics were on the chopping block because they just didn't fit the code of decency. So, what else we got? Ernie Cohen, a classic story by Ernie Cohen. This is called The Survivor. This is sort of like I would say a homage to Beneath the Planet of the Apes, as it involves with a primitive society and nuclear missiles. And you see, it's just wonderful here. Let me see what we got. The Soft Sweet Lips of Hell was a Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil collaboration, and you didn't see much of of them collaborating together on these black and white tales, but they did so for Eerie and Vampirella, which was this is a reprint from Vampirella issue 10. What else we got? This was a succubus demon who sucks the life force out of people, and except she meets this boxer guy who's on the take by the mob to throw fights, and so wonderful the artwork was. Neil Adams would later go on to do a whole gosh darn large treasury of Superman versus Muhammad Ali, and this has a pretty sweet ending to it, where the succubus gives her life to the boxer so he can live, and life goes on. Here we got the good ads here, and look at a creepy jigsaw puzzle. You get a 300 interlocking pieces of Vampirella, and back issues. Look at a back issue of Vampirella. It was only $3 back in the day. Now it's like hundreds of dollars. And let's see, is there one more tale? I love these ads. The Silver Thief and the Pharaoh's Daughter by Dean Latimer and Jose M.B. It's story about this guy building. He has to build a vault for a pharaoh to keep all his treasure in. But the guy's son who goes in, they steal, they skim off the top of the gold, and they accumulate enough riches. For one of the sons accumulates enough riches to build his own tomb, which he somehow gets sealed in. And that's, you know, the black and white artwork was just wonderful in these pages. Look, and that's that. And here's a little history. This is how I found out about Trina Robbins' involvement in Vampirella. They cover her whole history, and there's a picture of Trina back in the day. Okay, so that's one half of what about so I wanted to get Vampirella special edition. Sorry, pardon me, sorry. Let me get my my bearings here. 1972 Annual will be the next issue I'm talking about. And oh, okay, let me see. All right. Okay, here we go. There's Vampirella, Great Illustrated Stories. And this has her origin story. Now, I don't know, you know that even though she's affiliated with horror, her origin is sort of a science fiction-like. Let me see if we can cover it here. Okay. Well, the backup story is it's sort of like Vampirella. Sort of like Barbarella. In fact, the Ella came from Barbarella. I mean, part of her name is derived from Barbarella. And here are these classic little side pieces here. These weren't publications. The Creeps and the Shudder and Vampire Camelilla, yeah. Do these sort of they ape this sort of same style. So, according in the table of contents, the origin of Vampirella is you visit a world where water is blood and the fate is the puppeteer. Original story never before seen, and this is the only new issue, new story in this book too. Much like Countless Vampira does a new issue. Don Glut writes like a 10-pager of Camilla, and the rest of the stories are reprints. I don't bother buying them because I'm a regular buyer of these magazines when they come out every 2 months, every month or so. They alternate per month. 1 month will be the Shutters, and the next month will be the Countless Vampire Camilla. And this is Jose Gonzalez again. And that's just a wonderful shot there. Just so pretty. And let me see. Yeah, so Vampirella comes from a planet called Draculon, and it's where a planet where vampires frolic and play. They just prey on animals only. But one day, Earthmen come to the planet, and they try to capture her. They try to catch her for study, and she shows off her powers of turning into bat, and sucking the blood and all that stuff, and some reason her boyfriend turns on her, and he has to kill him. So turns into some kind of muck monster and everything. Isn't that face pretty? Some turns into some sort of swamp thing creature, and she makes it. She uses his siphons power off of him so she can escape to her spaceship, and she leaves for Earth, and that's is where like Christopher Priest takes up the mantle in the Dynamite series, where he sort of picks up where the story goes from here and in the current series, and it's a whole mishigash of a universe really where Vampy meets her mom, and she has siblings over there, and including a hot black Vampirella. Oh, I forget her name. But so here's some stories. The backup stories are Gardner Fox, The Curse of Circe. The goddess of Circe. She's like the siren. The leader of the sirens. Where when they cry out in the sea, you have no choice but to heed their call. For single guys like me. And there's a sort of another similar tale called Goddess of the Sea, which here's this is the most unique pairing I ever seen. And I have to talk to Don Glued about this because I didn't know that he collaborated with Neil Adams on a story here, and it's sort of similar where this strange woman comes out of the sea, and this guy harbors her from her Atlantean brethren who are trying to recapture her, and this single guy is going to try to hold of a horde of attacking Atlanteans, and he sort of gets it right until the end, where he's just chasing her down and he drowns with her, and he discovers that she wasn't really an earthly human after all, but she was some kind of amphibian fish. So here's another great story by Wally Wood. Sort of reminds me of Den from Heavy Metal Magazine, where he's got this guy who's probably big in the pants, helping out this hot young sorceress from being attacked by her or being captured by her sorceress mother, and leads him through a labyrinth of traps and stuff. And here, and there's Mom not approving of her big in the pants boyfriend. Zorg, his name is. Snake Eyes is a story by Nicola Cutie, who's also writing the same stories with Don Glued. And those magazines, I think he's passed away recently. Yeah, and these guys they're not young spring chickens anymore. They're like I said, Don Glued's like they're almost 80 years old now. And I know that Don Glued, he told me he has enough. If the eventuality, if he dies, there will be at least 2 years inventory stories that he has on hand for Warrant. Warrant, that's Warrant, not Warren. Warren is spelled Warren, but these guys are called Warrant Publications. He has enough stories on the inventory to last them 2 or 3 years to be published in the Shutter magazine or Vampirella countless whatever. I can't remember the name. Why don't I just grab a copy of this freaking book? Why can't I remember this stuff? There's Shutter. Still reading that mag. What's the next one up here? Okay. Vampiress Carmilla. All right, that's the title of the second Morton magazine. Jeez. All right, I got that. Did it clear it up? Okay, so back to this. This is this is okay. This story is coming back to me. It's about some woman with some kind of skin affliction, like a reptile. She wants to be a normal human girl. So the only way that she's going to do that is this one guy who the only guy in high school doesn't make fun of her. He gets to go on her with a trip to locate her ancestors, and it turns out that he ends up killing her. It's like any old foreign exchange student story gone awry when you're murdered overseas in some foreign land. And you probably saw that TV series on Apple called Disclaimer. Yeah, it's a lot like that. And she ends up being food for a race of mongoose people. Blazing Comet was another magazine, another comic book style magazine that Warren magazine did back in the 60s. They only lasted 4 issues, but I heard they are very pricey if you ever get a hand on one. Some more of these fairy tales or whatever. Let's see. No title. It says it's according to the index that Tom Sultan. Oh yeah, story and art by Tom Sultan. Yeah. Good Marvel inker and artist in his own right. You see, and some creepy back issue magazines, and Flash Gordon comic strips, in hardbound, and see what else we got here. This is sort of a Tanara influenced story. You read, you've seen the Heavy Metal magazine. Tanara was a warrior princess type of character who rode a dragon. And there's this one story. Okay, I found this interesting. This is very interesting. I can tell you, look at these crazy designs in here. So art. This is Dave Sinclair. Okay. David Sinclair. I noticed the interesting. I'm going to show you all these things. Okay, see that? I spotted right off the bat. There. There. Maybe not there, not so much. Oh, okay, there, okay. There's another one. There's another one. People barfing. No, that's not part of it. Yeah, this is a story of a guy who lands on a planet full of women. He is captured. And he's going to be forced to mate with all these women, but they also have a different ulterior motives with monsters and stuff like that. And there's a whole bunch of it there. Oh my goodness. All right, and eventually they escaped. And the clincher at the end is that when they get back on the rocket ship heading towards Earth, whatever planet, it turns out, well, you're gonna be the only woman because I come from a planet of all men. All those designs I show you, those I made. I knew right off the bat. This looks so familiar to me as a kid. These are from this guy had a Spirograph set. Remember Spirograph? I had when I was a kid. When you make all these crazy designs, you take like plastic pieces and stuff. You make circles and stuff like that. It's an old Milton Bradley. Did Milton Bradley make those? I don't know, but I had one, and I knew exactly what those funky round designs were. Okay, so and it ends with a story of another Vampy Fairy Tales. Um, uh, Focusing on Lilith, and it's done. Pencils done by Jeffrey Jones, and he's a legendary artist. And look at that back there is Vampirella plastic hobby kit to help join to keep your Frankenstein victim and mummy and Dracula and your Spider-Man and your Captain America and your Batman one or whatever. I had a bunch of these model kits, but I never saw a Vampirella one. It must be a really rare item to have. So that's it for this week. Well, I'll get one done on Friday, but Friday this week is going to be Amazing Spider-Man week. All right. Till then, take care, and don't forget to go to your support your local comic book shop or library and pick up some free comic books. Bye.